Her husband was eliminated for speaking the truth. Everyone told her to stay silent, but this widow refused. In a city ruled by corruption, one woman's courage would shake the powerful to their knees. Welcome to Echoes of Hope. Here we bring you emotional, inspirational, and true life stories. Subscribe to our channel, like, and comment. Join us in this journey. If you are ready, let's dive into the full story. The widow that fought for justice. In the busy city of Lagos, there lived a hard-working businessman named Emeka and his loving wife, Chioma. They lived in a modest apartment in Lekki, struggling to raise their 2 children in a world filled with both wealth and corruption. Emeka was known everywhere for his honesty, never taking bribes or cheating others. One morning, he left home in his dark suit, carrying his briefcase, smiling as he kissed his wife and children goodbye. But that evening, he never returned. His lifeless body was later found inside his car, parked by the roadside. Chioma fell to her knees and wept bitterly, holding her children close to her chest. But even in her grief, her sharp eyes noticed strange bruises on his body, marks that suggested foul play. Soon, whispers began to spread through Lagos like fire in dry grass. Emeka had been silenced because he discovered the shady dealings of powerful men. That night, Chioma lay awake in the dark, staring at the ceiling. With tears running down her face, she vowed, "I will not rest until I uncover the truth behind my husband's death." After the funeral, Chioma began to receive unexpected visits. Well-dressed politicians, wealthy businessmen in jeeps, and even respected family elders came to her apartment. Their voices were calm, but their words carried sharp warnings. One politician, sipping imported wine in her sitting room, leaned close and said, "Chioma, let the dead rest. Do not drag powerful names into this. Forget it and focus on your children." She listened silently, her fists trembling in her lap, but inside her a fire burned. When Chioma visited Emeka's office in Victoria Island, his colleagues avoided her eyes. Some even mocked her, whispering that she was just a widow chasing shadows. But Chioma's heart was firm. She knew her husband died because he refused to bow to corruption, and she would not allow his name to vanish in silence. Weeks later, she discovered that Emeka had been investigating a massive government project. Money meant for schools, hospitals, and roads had been stolen by top officials who drove black SUVs and lived in Banana Island mansions. Emeka had spoken openly about exposing them, and that had made him a target. She sat on the floor of her room when she learned this, shaking with both grief and anger. Her body trembled as she said, "If they silenced him for justice, then I will fight for justice in his name." From that day, Chioma began her quiet investigation. She visited Emeka's old friends, asking subtle questions in coffee shops, restaurants, and expensive hotel lobbies. Most refused to talk. Some lied, but a few revealed small details, contracts that never existed, billions that disappeared into private accounts, projects abandoned halfway. She carefully wrote everything down and kept the evidence in a secret file hidden under her bed. One night, she returned home to find her apartment turned upside down, expensive chairs broken, clothes scattered, her children terrified. She hugged her children tightly and whispered, "Do not be afraid, my darlings. The wicked are afraid of the truth. That is why they fight me." But instead of gaining support, Chioma faced more rejection. Her neighbors in the estate began avoiding her. Some mocked her openly, others warned her that she would end up just like her husband. Even in church, people shook their heads telling her to move on and accept fate. Yet Chioma's pride never broke. She walked with her head high, ignoring gossiping women in their designer clothes, her voice steady as she told herself, "My children's future is worth more than my shame. I will keep fighting." One evening, as she carried grocery bags from the supermarket, a young man approached her quietly. His name was Thomas, a personal assistant to a politician. His hands trembled as he spoke. "Madam Chioma, I know everything. Your husband was right. I've seen the files. They took his life because he discovered too much." Chioma's heart pounded, her eyes wide with both fear and hope. At last, someone was willing to help her. Together they planned to gather solid evidence, documents, bank transfers, secret recordings that could shake the system. With Thomas's help, Chioma uncovered shocking truths. She saw copies of contracts worth billions with no projects attached. She saw money meant for hospitals in Abuja, used to buy luxury cars, and funds for schools in Port Harcourt sent abroad to private accounts. The deeper she dug, the more dangerous it became. One night, driving her old Toyota Corolla, she noticed a black SUV tailing her. Her hands shook as she gripped the wheel, whispering prayers until she made it home. She knew then that the men she was fighting were watching her every move. The threats grew bolder. A dead cat was dumped at her doorstep. Anonymous calls warned her to stop, or her children would follow their father. One morning, she even found a bullet casing lying in front of her gate. Her stomach tightened in fear, but she stood tall. That evening, she gathered her children in the living room, held their hands, and with tears streaming down her face, she said, "If anything happens to me, never forget this. Your mother fought for truth. Promise me, you will never bow to evil." They cried as they hugged her, and she kissed their heads, her heart both heavy and strong. But betrayal came like a knife to her back. A close friend she trusted had been secretly reporting her movements. Soon after, Thomas was attacked in his Suluri apartment. He survived, but his body was bruised and broken, and he was warned never to help Chioma again. Chioma wept by his hospital bed, clutching his hand. Betrayal cut deep, but she also knew it was proof she was getting close to the truth. The powerful men were desperate. In her darkest moments, Chioma drew strength from her children. At night she would sit with them, telling stories of honesty, courage, and hope. Sometimes they begged her to stop, their little voices trembling in fear. But she would smile through her tears and say softly, "Light always wins over darkness." Though her bank account was almost empty, though sometimes she skipped meals so her children could eat, Chioma's spirit remained unshaken. She believed that the truth she carried was more powerful than the wealth of those trying to silence her. Her fight was far from over, but Chioma, the widow they thought would break, stood taller than ever. Watch out for part 2, because her story had only just begun.